Hi, I'm Tim Conaway, and I'm running for President of the United States. What does the United Nations actually do? I took a look here briefly today to see what the United Nations had done about Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Over the course of the first year of this invasion, the United Nations passed resolutions and made strongly worded statements and threatened to open war crimes investigations and set up a whole new panel in the United Nations to investigate the Ukraine invasion. And about a year after the invasion, the United Nations put a call out to its members to raise billions of dollars to help fund the ongoing process of overseeing what was going on in the Ukraine, and eventually asked for about $7 billion in aid, which it is receiving. Not one action that the United Nations has taken has had any impact on the war in Ukraine. The United Nations has a peacekeeping force, which is actually a military force. So when you say that an armed military force is a peacekeeping unit, that boggles the mind. And these units this isn't something the United Nations actually maintains. These units come from military personnel that are loaned by the various countries that contribute to the United Nations. The United States in 2021, which is the last year where complete data is available. And again, why is it that in 2023 we can't have any accurate figures about what we've spent with the country for the last couple of years? We have to go back 2 years to find anything that is accurate. But the United States spent roughly $12.5 billion on the UN. The United States is assessed a fee. All the countries are assessed a fee, and a lot of it is based on gross domestic product. So if you're not a highly producing country, you're not going to pay a whole lot. But the United States' share of the basic administrative costs is over $3 billion in the 2021 figures, and we pay 22% of the operating costs for this. Now, there are 197 countries in the United Nations, but we pay 22% of the operating costs. It's not divided equally by 197 countries. China and Japan are the next two that are paying up big money to operate this organization that doesn't really do very much. Now, we do have UNICEF, and we have the World Health Organization, and there are around 30 different little organizations within the United Nations that operate around the world, and some of them do some good, but it isn't anything that couldn't be done individually by an organization providing educational materials, or an organization providing medical care and housing. Doctors Without Borders, operates this way. There are dozens of different ways that these services could be provided to countries. Also, the United Nations, like this panel set up to look at the Ukraine, has all these panels set up for individual areas going on, the Palestinian conflict being one of them that the Trump administration withdrew money from. The United Nations is a big suckhole for money, and the point of the United Nations was that we would have an organization where we could avoid international conflicts by having this organization mediate the problem. After World War I, which, of course, when it was happening, wasn't called World War I because it was they were calling it the war to end all wars. There was something called the League of Nations, which sprang out of here. Very same ideology that we have with the United Nations, a group of nations that they could work out their conflicts so that we would never have another war like the war to end all wars. Well, the war to end all wars became World War I when World War II happened. And the League of Nations, everybody said what a waste it was. So what did we do after World War II? We formed the United Nations. The same thing, and there have been wars all around the globe ever since the United Nations was formed, and they have done nothing to stop any of these conflicts. $12.5 billion is supposed to be part of the roughly $50 billion in foreign aid, and that's if this money that's sent out to foreign countries is categorized as foreign aid. So $12.5 billion spent in America could solve a lot of problems in America. The United Nations doesn't do anything. It has no impact. It talks a lot. It collects a lot of money. It sends a lot of money around the world to places, but it has no real influence. I'm Tim Conaway. I'm running for President of the United States, and I say, let's just end this farce. This is a big sleight of hand process that gets us nothing. It gets the world nothing. And let's keep that $12.5 billion to develop American business and industry so that we're not dependent on so many foreign countries to supply us the needs that we've recently so critically find that we need. Let's use that money to help with some of the major interstate transportation needs. We need to fix roads and bridges in this country so we can keep the supplies moving wherever the supplies come from. Let's put money into training for jobs, not student loans for people to learn theory, but when plants shut down, we need to retool and retrain. When we have agricultural disasters, we need to take steps to make sure that food gets to the marketplace without drastic price increases that many people can't afford. I'm Tim Conaway. I'm running for President of the United States, and I know that we have to play a role in the world because we can't be isolated, but I also know that playing that role through the United Nations is as fake as pretending that I'm 6'8" and weigh a nice 185 pounds. I'm Tim Conaway. I'm running for President of the United States. Let's spend our money wisely and let's get something in return for it.